Hey gamers, Aksu here. Did you just fly out to the deep desert to rescue a friend, only to arrive and have no idea how to let them drive your vehicle? This video is for you. In this video, I'll review the permission systems in Dune Awakening. This is actually a really important topic to get right, because incorrect settings could leave your property vulnerable, or it could leave you frustrated that your friends are locked out against your wishes. Let's first review the very basics. There are 5 access and trust levels in the game: public, guild, associate, co-owner, and owner. While these do seem pretty straightforward, the details of how these settings impact others can be a little more nuanced. When I'm thinking about protecting my property, my home, my materials, my vehicles, I view the topic of permissions as having 2 different components. First is the assigning access level to my property, to the objects, and the second is assigning trust levels to other players. Now the game will actually use the word role. Conceptually, role is tied to a level of trust, but in my view, trust is actually the important part. Setting the access levels for your property is actually quite simple. Within your base, you can directly manage each entry point, storage, and crafting station. Anyone with a trust level equal to or higher than the access level you've assigned will be able to interact with that asset and have access to any item stored within. When constructed, the default access level for any base item is associate. There is one special case that I'm aware of regarding access levels, and that has to do with circuits that you've set up on storage containers and crafting stations. Individuals must have at least co-ownership trust level to modify any circuit inputs and outputs throughout your base. I think this is actually a pretty clever setup because it does allow for creative inventory and crafting management where you can control the material usage while still allowing broader access to use the actual crafting stations. Setting the access for your sub-fief console works the same. You can set a general access level to the console itself. Anyone with a matching or higher trust level will be able to pay taxes for the property, and they'll be able to refuel generators throughout your base through the console. And as the control point for your land claim, the fief console also has a number of predefined permissions related to what's allowed within your property boundaries. Associates will be able to deploy and protect their vehicles, and this includes the important status of being sheltered in base. Co-owners can build, demolish, and move items within the boundaries of your fief. The only item they're not allowed to destroy or move is the fief console itself. While co-owners are able to add and remove players to the permissions list for the fief, they aren't able to promote or demote players between different trust levels. Only the owner is able to do that. For vehicles, you're not really setting access levels like you do on items in your base. The level of interaction allowed for different aspects of your vehicle, or the permissions, those are predefined. In this case, you're only setting the trust level for players depending on what you'll allow them to do with your vehicle. Players need to have at least associate trust level in order to board your vehicles as a passenger or occupy any of the turret seats. However, to drive the vehicle, you're going to need to be at least a co-owner. Co-ownership also provides permission to assemble, disassemble, and store the vehicle using a backup tool. The co-owner can also add and remove players from the permissions list for that vehicle. And then the owner of the vehicle is the only person allowed to actually modify the access levels for players, promoting or demoting them between associate and co-owner, and they're the only player able to customize the vehicle appearance. So how do we actually assign the trust levels? First of all, public and guild are both broad designations that you don't control discreetly. For this reason, I regard both as kind of different categories of public. Even within your guild, players will be online at different times, and it's possible that there's a number of players in your guild that you've never even met or interacted with in order to build some level of trust. This means you can really only assign 2 trust levels for your close friends: associate and co-owner. The associate level will probably be used for the bulk of your friends. These are the people you want to share your stuff with while you still maintain control. Co-owners, on the other hand, are individuals that you trust the most and see as a partner. And this necessarily has to be a person who you're comfortable giving broad control of your belongings. And this is not to be taken lightly. Co-owners are granted nearly the same amount of access that you are as the owner. While the game does have ownership limits for land claims and vehicles, being assigned as a co-owner for a fief or a vehicle does not count towards those limits. The game will allow you to be the owner of up to 3 sub-fiefs and 10 vehicles. To grant the trust levels of associate or co-owner, you must first add the player to your friends list using the social menu. Once they're on your friends list, from the sub-fief control or vehicle management, click on the plus button to move them onto your permissions list. And then the up and down arrows are used to promote or demote them between associate and co-owner. And then if you need to, you can use the X to completely dismiss them from that specific permissions list. If you have a situation where you quickly want to grant an individual permission across a number of your assets, This can be done from your friends list in the social menu. Click on your friend, select Edit Permissions, and then here you can quickly set the trust level for all of your properties and vehicles for that individual. It's that time, guys. Please help support the channel by subscribing. You can also leave a like or comment, which really does help with the algorithm. And if you happen to be interested in live gameplay, I do stream weekly on Twitch, and I really do appreciate your support. Thank you so much, guys. Here are some things to keep in mind related to your base. For mechanical doors, the access level simply grants permission to activate the door. Activation can be based on proximity or require interaction. However, once that door is open, anyone can follow in or out of the opened door. One way to improve on this is that when your base has sufficient power, active pentashields and prudence doors will prevent unauthorized entry. In this case, each player needs to have the proper access level in order to pass through the force field. While maybe a little far-fetched, do keep in mind that it's possible to become accidentally or maliciously trapped inside of a building if you don't have the access level to actuate doors, or if the access levels are changed while you're within the structure. Be aware that all of the stored water you have is automatically on one shared circuit. That means that any player who's able to extract water from any one location could theoretically empty all the water you have stored in your base. Players with access to crafting stations can enable and disable power for that station. If you don't have sufficient power generation for all of the equipment enabled at the same time, this could allow them to accidentally or maliciously overload the power circuits, leading to your base shields dropping, and that would nullify the access protection offered by pentashields and prudence doors. For this reason, it's always wise to set the appropriate access level for each of your storage containers in the event that your base shields lose power. Because of the risk and importance of your base shields, you may want to restrict access to your power generating utilities, so that the utility can't be disabled or components removed from the storage in those utilities. Basically, prevent anything that could hinder your uninterrupted power generation. Remember that to keep your base powered, trusted players with permission can refuel your generators using the sub-fief console. Your land claim is supposed to be protected because only the owner can move or destroy the sub-fief console. However, because co-owners can demolish structures within your land claim, if the sub-fief console is supported by a foundation, floor, or other structure, should that support be destroyed, accidentally or otherwise, it will result in the destruction of your fief console and relinquish your land claim. To prevent this from happening, it's always wise to locate your sub-fief console directly on the ground and not on any player-created structure. For vehicles, while disassembly and assembly rights are useful, for example to swap between storage and booster modules, do be aware that co-ownership trust level does allow full disassembly of the vehicle, and this could effectively remove your ownership completely. When reassembled, the vehicle is fully owned by the person who put it together. And also, a stored vehicle may only be recalled by the player who stored it, leaving open the possibility for a co-owner to take your sandbike or scout ornithopter hostage. Just remember that co-owners essentially have both keys and title to the vehicle. They can pretty much do whatever they want. While this permission system isn't overly complicated, I do hope this video was helpful to clarify some of the details. Thanks for watching, guys, and thank you for your support. Until next time.